Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nidaul Fadhilah with NIM 55542300074 from Class D. And today I want to tell the Islamic macro policy during the time of Prophet and Caliphate. This is an article review with the title Islamic Macroeconomy, a New Paradigm. So this study explores Islamic macroeconomics as a new paradigm for controlling inflation, monetary and fiscal issues in both conventional and Islamic economic systems. It reveals that monetary policy is crucial for achieving inflation targets and economic growth. But in here, I just want to tell about the policy during the time of Prophet and the Caliphates. So there is the development of Islamic. So Islamic macroeconomics is a science that addresses macroeconomic policy issues in accordance with Islamic teachings. It focuses on understanding economic concepts within the Islamic framework, rooted in the Islamic creed and the teaching of Prophet Muhammad, who prioritized economic problems as pillars of faith. So the first is fiscal policy at the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Prophet Muhammad's political life in Islamic countries was based on Aqidah values and influenced by social, cultural, and political factors. His fiscal policy was a public economic instrument, addressing internal and external challenges. He faced the challenge of uniting the Ansar and immigrants after moving from Mecca to Medina and compensating for harassment from Quraysh infidels. Despite these challenges, the Prophet Muhammad managed to overcome them with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Public finance developed alongside the Muslim community and formation of Islamic citizens after Hijrah. As leaders in Medina, the Prophet Muhammad implemented fiscal policy to address his uncertain condition. So the first there is an economic. The economic systems of Prophet Muhammad was based on the principles of the Quran, which assert that the supreme power belongs to Allah alone and that every human being is created as his caliph on earth. The main principles of Islamic economic policy include the belief that wealth is owned and obtained by Allah's grace, and that wealth should be played and not hoarded. Economic exploitation, including usury, must be eliminated, and the inheritance system should be established to redistribute wealth, which can legitimize individual conflicts. The goal is to eliminate the gap between the poor and the rich. And the next is finance and taxes. Medina, a state in the early years of its declaration, had minimal revenue or expenditure. All taxes were carried out in mutual cooperation and voluntary manner. The Prophet Muhammad, who served as head of state, chairman of the Supreme Court, Grand Mufti, Supreme Warlord, and state administrator, received small gifts in the form of food. There was no formal army, but every Muslim with a strong physique could become a soldier who received property from war spoils, such as weapons, horses, and camels. So next we have fiscal policy during the Caliphate of Umar ibn al-Khattab with the time from 13 to 23 Hijriah or 634 until 644 AD. Umar bin Khattab radhiyallahu anhu ruled only for 10 years, but in that short period, there were many progress experienced by Muslims. If it may be said that the reign of Umar bin Khattab radhiyallahu anhu was a golden age in Islamic history. In the economic aspect, an economic system developed based on justice and togetherness. The system is based on the principle of returning some of the wealth of the rich to be distributed to the poor. There is economic policy, so the strategy used is by handling the affairs of state assets, in addition to government affairs. He leads by using three principles, namely the first is the Islamic State take public wealth properly. The second, the state gives rights to public property and there is no expenditure except with its right. And the last is the state doesn't receive wealth from dirty results. And there is elements of Baitul Mal, land ownership, zakat from agriculture including fruits, sadaqah for non-Muslim, coins, classification of state income and expenses. Next, there is a fiscal policy during the Caliphate of Uthman bin Affan, with the time from 23 till 35 Hijriah or 644 until 646 AD. So no significant changes on the overall economic situation during his caliphate. Historically, at the beginning of his reign only continued and developed the policies that had been implemented by the Caliph Umar bin Khattab radhiyallahu anh. But when he encountered difficulties, he began to deviate from the policies that had been implemented by his predecessors, which proved to be more fatal than him and also for Islam. Economic problems during the Caliphate of Uthman bin Affan radhiyallahu anh were increasingly complicated. In line with the wider area of the Islamic State, the state's income from zakat, jizya, and also spoils of war is getting bigger. In the first 6 years of his reign, Balkh, Kabul, Ghazni, Kerman, and Sistan were conquered. To organize new data collection, Umar bin Khattab's policy was followed. Not long after, Islam recognized 4 trade contracts after these countries were conquered. Then, effective measures were implemented in the context of developing natural resources, things he did, including the first is construction of irrigation, and then the formation of a police organization to maintain trade security, and then the policy of dividing the vast land belonging to the king of Persia to individuals, and the results have increased when compared to the time of Umar. And the last is construction of a court building for law enforcement. So next, there is a fiscal policy during the Caliphate of Ali bin Abi Talib, with the time from 35 till 40 Hijriah or 656 till 661 AD. After becoming Caliph, Ali bin Abi Talib put the Baitul Mal condition back in place in its previous position. Among other things, like dismissing several officials appointed by Uthman bin Affan radhiyallahu anh, distributing land that was distributed by Uthman to his family without a valid reason, and then providing allowance to Muslims in the form of allowance taken by the Baitul Mal, and rearranging government administration to restore the interests of the people and moving the center of government to Kufah from Medina. According to one narration, he voluntarily withdrew himself from the list of recipients of Baitul Mal funds. Even according to another, he gave 5,000 dirhams every year. When the war broke out between Ali bin Abi Talib and Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, people close to Ali asked him to take funds from the Baitul Mal as gifts from those who helped him. The goal was to defend Ali himself and the Muslims. Caliph Ali had a clear concept of his government, general administration, and matters related to it. This concept is explained in his letter addressed to Malik Ashtar bin Haris. The letter, among others, describes the duties and responsibilities of the authorities, set priorities in carrying out dispensations in justice, control over high officials and staff, explains the merits and demerits of services, judges, legal servants, enumeration of administrative staff, and procurement of treasures. So, the Caliph Ali bin Abi Thalib related to the policies he carried out during his 6 years of leadership. The first is the distribution of all income in Baitul Mal is different from Umar, who set aside for reserves. The second is naval spending is eliminated. Then there is a policy of tightening the budget. And the last is, the thing that is very monumental is the printing of its own currency in the name of Islamic government, where previously the Islamic Caliphate used the Roman dinar and the Persian dirham. Ali bin Abi Thalib's reign ended with his assassination at the hands of Ibn Muljam from the Khawarij group. And we are at the end of the explanation. I hope you like it, and if I have any mistake, please forgive it. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.